Okay, and now don't go far, because we're going to have quick talks by eminent folk, including some of the marchers. So please, don't go far. Sit down, make yourselves comfortable. We've got 42 minutes worth of speeches here, okay? So don't worry, it's going to go quick. My name's Dave Finnegan. I'm the education advance for the marchers. My job has been to help the marchers get into elementary, middle, and high schools along the route. And we've had a great time talking to kids and getting kids excited about what we're doing and collecting 3x5 cards from them, which we're going to take to Washington, D.C. And we're probably going to clip them to a big ribbon, and we're going to give them to the Obamas. So I think the Obama girls and Mrs. Obama would love to see these cards from kids all over the country. It's time for our first opener, the person who's going to get us started, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Mayor Pro Tem and City Councilor for District 2, Senior Counselor at the Trust for Public Land, member of the State Bar of New Mexico, Georgetown University Law Center, Harvard College, Peter Ives, focus on a sustainable and healthy future. Peter Ives!
Let me just say that while the introduction talked about eminent speakers, I suspect all the speakers here today would say that the eminent ones are the marchers here today. And I want to offer on behalf of the city of Santa Fe a welcome to the climate marchers. Most of us in this community already believe that climate change is real. And I know we're talking to those who believe in the science of climate change. And I will say that many of us here in Santa Fe are engaging in our homes and in our community to affect those changes that we believe need to happen. But there are those among us who believe with such a passion that it motivates them to more than the rest of us, that motivates them to do something for all of us. Those people are the ones who have left and put their lives on hold for 9 months, who have stepped out of their normal day-to-day activities, and who, due to a commitment to this planet, due to a commitment to all living things on our planet, due to their commitment to humanity, due to their commitment to each one of us, you and I, are walking to bring attention to the need for all of us to respond to the challenge that faces this world. This is why all of us here owe them a debt of gratitude and respect. To the marchers, we say thank you. We acknowledge the beautiful commitment you have made. We appreciate what you are doing for all of us, and we honor your presence here in Santa Fe. So welcome to the marchers. On behalf of Mayor Gonzalez, all the City Council, and all the people of Santa Fe, it is wonderful to have you here. Yeah. And you might wonder what we're doing in Santa Fe that supports what you are doing for this planet. And we certainly are doing any number of things. Folks locally know that P&M recently filed a case at the Public Utility Commission to shut down several generators, several of the units at the San Juan coal-fired power plant. We truly appreciate what P&M is doing in shutting down those 2 units, but they're asking to actually bring on additional coal and additional nuclear to replace them. So the city of Santa Fe has intervened in that proceeding with an aim towards encouraging and, in fact, demanding that P&M provide more recyclables, more renewables, more solar power, more wind power as part of that portfolio. At the city, we are both creating an internal task force looking at energy issues within the city, and we are also pairing with the County of Santa Fe to create an energy task force that is going to look at ways that we can promote renewable energy and the conversion of all our businesses and all our homes to solar power and wind power. And so we are doing those types of efforts locally. We are turning away from fossil fuels and demanding that our utilities, our governments, our businesses do all that they can to mitigate the effects of climate change. Yes! And unfortunately, already we are living in the impact of those changes. We are in the fourth year of significant drought here in New Mexico, which impacts northern New Mexico significantly. We are living in a time when rainstorms due to climate change are becoming much more significant and putting down such great amounts of water when they happen that it actually causes flooding and threatens our people. We are acting to mitigate as well as adapt to climate change here in the city of Santa Fe. And in Santa Fe, we live intentionally, creatively, and sustainably. And that is our path forward. And we again thank these marchers for their efforts for affirming that path with their presence here in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah!
So thank you, marchers. Thank you for coming to Santa Fe. We know you have many routes that you could have taken. We are glad you are here, and we stand with you in your efforts, and we praise you in those efforts, and we are honored again by your presence. Thank you very much, and welcome.
Our next speaker is Matt Miller from the U.S. Senator Tom Udall's office. He will read a letter from Tom Udall. Tom, of course, as we know, began serving as U.S. Senator in 2009 after 2 decades of public service as U.S. Representative and New Mexico State Attorney General. Throughout his career, Tom has been a strong advocate for the hardworking families in New Mexico, for a clean energy economy, and for the environment. Tom serves on 5 committees as New Mexico's senior senator: Appropriations, Foreign Relations, Environment and Public Works, Indian Affairs, and Rules Administration. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Miller from Tom Udall's office.
Thanks. That's a really nice welcome, considering the man himself is not here. So thank you very much.
That's why you're standing.
I'll do my best. I'm terribly sorry he couldn't be here today. He has a really, really busy schedule and couldn't make it. But he did write this letter and asked me to read it to you all. So bear with me here.
Happy birthday, Senator!
That's right, 66.
That's right.
Our senior senator. Thank you.
You don't look a day over 30.
Thanks. Clean living. Dear friends, thank you for inviting me to share a few thoughts with you today during this historic Great March for Climate Action. Climate change is unequivocally real and a direct challenge to our very way of life. Here in New Mexico, we are experiencing the worst drought in half a century. According to a recent study at Los Alamos National Laboratory, it is possible that by 2050, in less than 50 years, we will not have any forests left in New Mexico. The dangers of climate change extend around the world, with potentially cataclysmic consequences for everything, from our food, our water supplies, right down to our own health. I applaud your commitment to change the hearts and mind of the American people, our elected leaders, and people across the world to act now and address the climate crisis. It is of vital importance that we work to build the resolve in Washington to meet this challenge. I believe that the American people know what's at stake, and policymakers need to act. Transitioning to a clean energy economy is a commitment that we owe to future generations. That is why, late last year, I helped introduce a bill to establish a national renewable electricity standard. By requiring utilities to generate 25% of their power from wind, solar, and other renewable energy sources by 2025, the bill would encourage the growth of U.S. renewable energy that reduces our dependence on foreign fossil fuels, helps hold down utility rates, and boosts private investments in state economies. Climate change is a tremendous challenge, indeed among the greatest challenges of our time, but it is also an opportunity for innovation and growth. This is an opportunity for America to prove that we can still meet any challenge head on. And New Mexico is the ideal place to set up our front line in this battle. Sun and wind are abundant resources here in the land of enchantment. Working together, we need to implement solutions and encourage the American ingenuity and resourcefulness that has always made this the greatest country in the world. We have the solutions. We must also have the determination.
Yes!
By marching coast to coast, you are making your voices heard and bringing attention to the urgent need for action in combating the threat of climate change. Your dedication is an inspiration to all of us.
Amen!
Thank Thank you to Ani Rushalo. I didn't see. Thank you.
Right over here.
Hope I got that right. Oh,
Right there.
thank you. Hope I got the name right. And thank you also to Earl James for helping coordinate this event. And thank all of you for calling attention to this very important issue and for making Santa Fe a stop on your momentous march to Washington. Yours truly, Tom Buell.
We can't say enough good things about Ani Rushalo. She organized everything, not just in Santa Fe, but all along the route from the Zuni Pueblo to Taos. And it's been a wonderful journey for the marchers. We've been treated so well by people in New Mexico. The Pueblos opened their doors for us, and we've been to schools in almost all the Pueblos all the way along, talking to people who already understood what we were talking about. It was wonderful. The man who dreamed up this march is a dreamer. He's an American politician who served in the Iowa legislature for 14 years. He was previously a Democrat, a candidate for governor of Iowa, a candidate for U.S. Congress. On January 3rd, 2012, he attended the Republican caucus and registered as an independent the next day. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the Climate March founder and director, Ed Fallon.
Thank you. To be clear, that was to have some fun at the Republican caucus. I'd never had such a blast in my life, but they actually elected me secretary and had me count their money and their votes. Wow. And they passed, it was the only Republican caucus in the state to pass a resolution supporting gay marriage. That was pretty fantastic. Hey, it's great to be here, and I'm so impressed with the hospitality and involvement of New Mexicans. We have not been flipped off once yet in the state. It's really amazing. It'll will we? They'll have to go a ways to catch up with what we received in Arizona and California. Again, good responses there, but a few really negative ones too. But the bottom line is we've got a major crisis on our hands, a major crisis, and it requires a dramatic response. And this response is dramatic. It's an 8-month-long drama. And it's a drama on many levels. It's hard to get up every morning and walk 15 miles, sometimes, 17.5 miles yesterday. It's hard to come into camp from that, and you're tired, and the food's not ready, or you're supposed to be helping with that, and the water has run out, and there's sand in your tent because the wind's been blowing 40 miles an hour, or it's cold, and it's you put all these things together, and it's a recipe for tension, for challenges, for just wanting to give up. But then you think about the bigger issue. You think about the problems that people around the world are already facing because the climate crisis is already hitting home. You think about the poor, the marginalized people, the ones on the front lines who are going to get hit the hardest by climate change, who are getting hit the hardest. And it's a little easier to continue to know that we've got to do this. We've got to make this sacrifice. We've got to demonstrate this commitment if we're going to get to the point where our country again gains a sense of purpose and leadership and does what we know we can do. We have the technology, we have the wherewithal, we have the know-it-all to do it. Well, know-it-all is a bit strong, but we know what we have to do. And again, New Mexico is a great place to do it. With all the wind and solar potential, we can do it. It's the political will that's missing. And by that, I don't mean just the elected leadership, but the will in our business community, the will that each of us can bring to our communities that need to be doing more. We can do it. And if we can do this march, I think we can demonstrate that the will is out there for our country to begin to grapple with this in a way that is serious and is going to actually move us beyond the problem. And again, I can't speak highly enough of all the people who made the commitment to do this. Even though we may have disagreements and may argue once in a while, we're a big family and we're moving forward. We're about a third of the way there. We're going to keep going. Yeah. And I think when we get to Denver, we're going to see a swell in the momentum of this movement because we're heading toward the symbol, the key symbol of this movement, and that is the Keystone Pipeline. Yes. It has not yet been built, and we're going to make sure it is not built. And we have people on the ground in Colorado and in Nebraska who are working to make the Keystone Pipeline event, where we come to the real little town of Bradshaw, a tiny town. They're hoping to see 1,000 people meet us there for a march to the barn, the solar and wind-powered barn that's been built right on the pathway of the pipeline. As if to say, yeah, take this barn down and build your pipeline. I dare you to do that. It's the wrong thing to do. So, again, we're building momentum. We're seeing great work laying ahead of us. The reception here in New Mexico has been fantastic. I thank you all. This is so encouraging and empowering to have your support behind us. Thank you.
Ed doesn't know I'm going to do this, but this is a hat. This hat has spent about the last 40 years on the street. Uh-oh, we're in trouble now. Collecting money. I'm going to pass this hat around the audience. Now, here's what you do. It's real easy. I'll give you instructions. You take your wallet out of your pocket. You take $5 out of your wallet. You put the $5 in your pocket. You put the wallet in the hat. Okay? So I'm passing the hat. Here we go. Let's start the hat right there. There's the man who can pass it.
Thank you. 3 minutes.
Our next speaker. All speakers are restricted to 3 minutes, says Ani. And she's small but powerful. The Executive Director and President of the New Energy Economy, Mario Nanazi. Did I pronounce that right?
Nanasi.
Legal cases she's won and settled have been featured in the major media, including the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, Albuquerque Journal, Santa Fe New Mexican, and on many television shows, including the documentary End of the Nightstick on PBS. When Mario realized the urgency of climate change, she came to work for the New Energy Economy as a senior policy advisor and is now the executive director. She lectures on climate change and environmental justice at conferences and college classrooms, and you should read her essay, A Future Without Coal. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Mario Nanazi.
Better be here.
Mario! To be here soon, but we do have a musical interlude. Do you want to do a musical interlude?
After the next speaker.
After the next speaker. Let's bring up one of our speakers, because we have speakers too, you know. We've got marchers who are elected officials, and our elected mayor for our village is Miriam. And Miriam, can you come up here now? You better be here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our mayor, Miriam.
So I went to Nebraska, and I helped build that wind and solar barn that's on the path of the Keystone Pipeline. And I better not back up or I'm in trouble. Okay, I've got 3 minutes. I hope I can do this in 3 minutes. This is a manifesto that I wrote. It's not news to any of you, but hearing it is powerful. I wrote this as to demonstrate why I am here, why I have walked every step from Los Angeles to Santa Fe and will continue to Washington. This is called the Manifesto for a Livable Future. Whereas our global population of 7 billion is already unsustainable and still rising. The extraction, transport, and burning of carbon-spewing fossil fuels are resulting in unprecedented increases in CO2 in our atmosphere. Atmospheric levels of CO2 determined to be sustainable for life are scientifically acknowledged to be 350 parts per million. Current levels exceed 400 parts per million and are rapidly increasing. Increasing temperatures worldwide are resulting in climate chaos with more frequent and destructive storm systems creating unimaginable costs, loss of life, and great suffering. Major floods and increasingly extended droughts, which you're very familiar with, in expanding areas of the whole planet are displacing populations and threatening food security. Food shortages and crop failures are resulting in civil disturbances and regional conflicts. Environmental refugees are burgeoning, causing human suffering and political and social upheavals worldwide. Glaciers are melting. raising the ocean levels and threatening island nations and coastal cities and countries. Water sources for millions are drying up. Temperature rises are turning the oceans acidic, resulting in massive losses of aquatic life and starting to disrupt the ocean currents that regulate weather patterns and climate systems. Indigenous and marginalized cultures are currently being most severely impacted by these disasters. We've seen that here in your beautiful state. This is environmental and social injustice at its worst. Ecosystems all over the planet are collapsing, and recovery and rebalancing possibilities are rapidly fading. 100 species per day are becoming extinct on Earth. The natural world has no voice and no rights. The time for reversing these exponentially growing and cataclysmic trends is declining rapidly. We probably have as little as 15 years to reverse these trends. Our present political stalemate and inaction is ineffective and reprehensible. I want to hear it for reprehensible.
Go reprehensible.
Our democracy has been undermined and hijacked by special interests and corporate power.
Yes.
Renewable, clean sources of transportation, food production, and energy are readily available now, but we lack, as you've heard from everybody, the personal and political will to make the necessary transitions. That's where we all come in. Therefore, here's the manifesto. We demand of ourselves, our communities, our governments, the corporations of the world, and all nations, immediate and comprehensive action to ameliorate and reverse these catastrophic and increasingly irreversible impacts on our planet and on the future of all life on Earth.
Can we adopt that manifesto by acclamation? All agreed, say aye. Aye. Thank you. It is adopted. Our next speaker, and we're going to gallop right along here because we're going to be out of here at 12. There's another group coming in to take over the park. In a minute. Yeah, thank you. But good question. A man who needs no introduction. He was the man who started Fast Company magazine, the fastest growing, most successful business magazine in history, and winner of 2 National Magazine Awards. He's interested in reducing carbon pollution, achieving aggressive energy efficiency targets, and generating clean, renewable energy. Ladies and gentlemen, Alan Weber.
Hello, climate patriots! Take a look around at yourselves and give yourselves a big round of applause. We are here to make a difference, and you are doing it every day that you march. And I am so proud to be part of this group. Mike, I am so proud to be with you today and to stand with you and to be a part of this climate change movement. This is not just a march, it's a movement. It's a movement to change America and to change the world. And right here in New Mexico, we're going to take a stand for the future. Now, we're doing it not because climate change is going to be a problem. We're doing it because it's already a crisis. It's with us here in New Mexico. Our climate is too hot, too dry, and way too weird. We don't have global warming, we have global weirding. And we got to change that. And the place we're going to change it is right here in New Mexico. Now, I am running for governor of New Mexico because the current governor isn't here today. She's never here. You never hear from her and you never see her, and she doesn't talk about climate change because she's in the pockets of the oil and gas industry. And she's with the Koch brothers. And she's with the Tea Party. So we need to make a change in New Mexico. And we have everything we need to be the place where the change starts. This state is ready to be the most sustainable state in America. We have the opportunity to put it down and make it right. We have the opportunity to have solar and wind and geothermal and showcase it right here in New Mexico. And we have the opportunity to go to work on water, which is a big part of this issue, and stop wasting it and start conserving it, and prove that water and wind and solar and geothermal are the future of not just New Mexico, but America. We, right here in New Mexico, will be the laboratory of sustainability. And so if you're ready to make a start, if you're ready to start changing New Mexico and moving it in the right direction, I'm asking for your help so I can be helpful to you. Put me in the roundhouse and let's make New Mexico the most sustainable state in America. Starting in November. What do you say? Let's do it! Come on, take it! Thank you!
Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a self-taught American photographer and filmmaker. He published his first photographs working for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Hey, I was part of that.
Yeah.
His pictures appeared in The Movement, a documentary book about the Southern Civil Rights Movement. Danny Lyon received the Guggenheim Foundation Fellowship for Photography in 1969 and in filmmaking in 1979. He's had solo exhibits at the Museum of Modern Art, the Art Institute of Chicago, and the Center for Creative Photography at the University of Arizona. He's the founding member of the Photography for Creative of the photography group Black Beauty. He was greatly encouraged in his documentary work by curator Howard Hughes. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Lyon.
It's bleak beauty.
Get the mic going.
Hang on, that's the mic.
Yeah, I want a mic.
The mic and the cord. The mic and the cord come apart.
What are we doing? Okay. So I was in jail with Martin Luther King when I was 20 years old. That's over. Don't cheer for me. Cheer for these marchers. That was a movement. This is a movement. This is a little group that nobody cares about. This is happening all over the planet. Swarthmore divested $20 billion worth of stock yesterday. $20 billion from an Ivy League school. They're going to lose $10 million a year, and the student says, who cares about losing money? We're going to lose our lives. And they agreed. It's a huge, huge, huge victory for this movement. I'm a photographer, and yesterday Nancy was photographing me, and I was in the back of my truck, and I was photographing these marchers, and some of them are crutches, and some of them are walking without shoes, and some of them are crazy. When I was 20 years old, I hitchhiked to Albany, Georgia. This is not about me. This is about what happened in Albany, Georgia. And the first night I went there because Martin Luther King was there, and Snick was there, and I had heard about it. I had a camera. And I spent the first night with a white kid who was grinding his teeth. And I had never heard anybody grind their teeth. I'm from Forest Hills. And I thought, that guy's crazy, you know. And within days I was in jail. And inside the jail was Martin Luther King, but he wasn't crazy. And there was a postman named William Moore, and he marched, not with 40 people or 20 people, he marched alone with a picket sign from Baltimore, Maryland, to Alabama, and he was murdered. And there was nobody marching. And the movement, which is so honored and put on stamps, and Dr. King and I Have a Dream and all that stuff, didn't even exist. And when he died, where his body fell, 10 SNCC workers and Corps workers took up that march, 20 people. And that was 5 years before the Selma March, which everybody knows about. And that only took place 50,000 people because John Lewis a couple hundred people, then they were beaten unconscious on a bridge on television. And the March on Washington wasn't the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement, it was the end of the Civil Rights Movement. Well, it's nice to be in jail, and you meet interesting people there. And our governor belongs in jail. Do you know what a bully pulpit is? A bully pulpit? You know that term? That's what the governor has. That's what everybody who's elected with votes has, a bully pulpit. They're supposed to speak out. Every time she feeds her dogs and there's ashes in the bowl of the water for the dogs, she should speak out. Every time she gets out of that, wherever she works, and she can't breathe in the city because there's smoke blowing in from these gigantic fires, unprecedented fires, she should speak out. You fish? Does she fish? I fish. Try go fishing. Go up north. Those beautiful lakes that the Hickoryers have, they're dried up. This was a fishing paradise 40 years ago when I came here. She should speak up. Yes. When you look at the Rio Grande, when you look at the Chama, when you look at the San Juan, and it's a half or a third of what it was all the time 40 years ago, she should speak up. Yes. And the public officials, every one of them who don't speak up, should be thrown out of office. Yes. There's only one issue. This is the issue. Yes. All these other issues, many of which grew out of the Civil Rights Movement, talk about human rights. This is the issue, the only issue. I'll see you guys in Nebraska at the Keystone, and I'll see you in Washington.
Wow. Our next speaker, Craig Barnes, author, host of the radio show Our Time with Craig Barnes, author of many books including Democracy at the Crossroads, playwright, lecturer, mediator, and essayist, founder of We Are People Here, a Santa Fe-based organization dedicated to revealing transnational global banking's invisible empire and establishing state and local banking for New Mexico. He has been a champion of civil society, the rise of democracy, and the rule of law. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Barnes.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to Santa Fe. Thanks for giving us heart and spirit. The grass on the hill where I live was mowed down by sheep 150 years ago. And the soil is gone, and the grass has no black richness in which to grow today. Not all my wishing can make the good soil be back there today. The land does not pretend to grow grass. It grows grass or does not. The land does not pretend to erode. It erodes. The land does not claim that next year will be abundant and everything will be fine. The land is neutral. The land does not pretend to be beautiful. It is what it is. The land does not lie. Amen. In New York City, after the great Sandy Hook hurricane, city officials are today still trying to raise funds to build a wall to block out the sea, standing at the water's edge like King Canute II, commanding the waves to stop. In Miami Beach, Florida, they don't have to wait for more hurricanes. The water already rises at high tides and regularly floods the streets. The state's governor and one of its U.S. senators like stone statues standing while the water rises above their ankles, heading ever upwards, while these two statues proclaim that climate change is a hoax. But the sea does not pretend. The sea is neutral. The sea does not lie, and it is rising to their knees. In New Mexico, we have seen forest fires rage along a 60-mile ridgeline. We see once again our piñons stressed by drought-loving beetles. And we have a governor and an environmental department that fosters the development of more coal and more oil and gas, funded during this season's political campaign by producers from Texas who do not stand in awe of our fires or in despair of our dying trees. But unlike our governor, our trees do not respond to oil money from Texas, and they die just the same. And the dead ghosts of piñon trees are scattered from here to the Colorado border, and they do not lie. These years we have a political culture in which the national politicians on both sides each claim that the other side is lying, and we have a national media that fosters accusations of lying. and we have a public bewildered by elaborately dressed up and falsified claims that the future resides with the development of the tar sands, or fracking, or international trade agreements. Political ads and oil and gas commercials will do what they can to turn the fiction into truth and exploitation into patriotism. But fear not, the truth is here and in the land we walk, and the air we breathe, and in our bated breaths while we look to the sky, hoping for rain. While the richest among us may hide their eyes or seek solace in growth, capitalism, and materialism, the land, the sea, and the forest do not lie, and cannot be persuaded by Fox News to lie. And the requirements for a living, breathing planet cannot be faked, and the search for beauty cannot be replaced by growth funds or derivatives or mountains of gold.
Speak the truth.
Those who march today and assemble today will win in the end, because the land and the sea and the forest spread their messages every day, reinforce their messages season after season, march on inexorably with truths that cannot be hidden. The waters will continue to rise against the sea walls of New York City, will rise above the knees to the shoulders and necks of the politicians in Florida, and will eventually cover the very mouths of those who deny that they're even getting wet. Then they will be silent. Time is on the side of the air, land, sea, and water. Mother Gaia does not lie. She is our partner, and we are hers. Thank you, marchers, for coming to New Mexico. Thank you for standing up for all of us. March on.
Ladies and gentlemen, that piece of poetry by Craig Barnes has got to be on our website. So, Mr. Barnes, do you have a copy of that in digital format?
Yes.
Okay, check him out. Make sure we don't want that to leave. We don't want him to leave here without giving us that. Kathleen Dudley, Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, spearheaded the organizing campaign in New Mexico that led to the first community in the Southwest to adopt Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund drafted Community Bill of Rights banning shale gas drilling and fracking. Here's Kathleen Dudley. I hope. Apparently not here. Well, we gave her applause in absentia. Jack Loeffler, who I know is here, is the author of Thinking Like a Watershed and the producer of the radio series Watersheds as Commons. He's been active in the radical environmental movement since the 1960s. His book, Adventures with Ed, A Portrait of Abby, reveals some of his concerns regarding strip mining of coal and the presence of coal-fired power plants in the North American Southwest. He says to us, we must stay relentless.
If I could even walk up the stairs, I'd join you for the whole cross-country march. But age takes its toll, and life is good.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I really want to express my gratitude for all of the marchers and everyone else who is concerned about climate change, global warming, and the strange state of our American cultural attitude. This is in part addressed to the marchers, but it's really addressed to everybody. As Henry David Thoreau pointed out, walking itself is an art form. When I walk, I try to let each bioregion that I pass through become part of my consciousness and recognize and sense that whole sense of being kindred with all other life forms. Taking a cue from our traditional Indian friends and neighbors, re-sacralize our native homelands, expanding consciousness to comprehend the whole that our prevailing commercial culture has secularized in order to turn habitat into money.
Woo! Yeah.
We have to anticipate Looking to the Colorado River watershed, which you passed over, consider that as Lake Mead and Lake Powell continue to diminish, Hoover Dam and Glen Canyon Dam may well lose their ability to generate hydroelectric power. Coal companies will then want to strip mine more coal to feed even more coal-fired power plants like the Four Corners Power Plant and the Navajo Generating Station, and thus emit even more CO2 into the atmosphere while filling their corporate coffers. This must not happen. Extractive industries work very hard to gain ever more control over our politicians, and I trust that our current politicians are exempt from such control. We must develop more self-governance from within our home watersheds. Grassroots activism to gradually decentralize corporate-controlled governance. To succeed, true democracy must include deep concern for the entire biotic community.
Absolutely.
Our human species is overabundant. This is something I think about every single day. In my own lifetime, the human population of the planet Earth has more than tripled. That's a pretty profound thought. Global warming and climate change are powerful indications of coming ecosystemic crash. Garrett Hardin pointed out in his classic essay, The Tragedy of the Commons, that an ecosystem will inevitably crash when its carrying capacity has been exceeded. Well, with a global population of over 7 billion people, we really have exceeded the carrying capacity of our poor little planet. We must shift our cultural attitudes away from economic growth based on huge expense to habitat, and gradually shape and adopt a cultural paradigm based on human reciprocity with our planetary ecosystem. And we must aim to achieve a steady state economy, and you can look that up on Google, a steady state economy that does not strain the yield of the planetary ecosystem. We have to thwart this mania for endless growth and development that dominates our cultural mind. We really have to. As Ed Abbey once pointed out, growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of the cancer cell. Thanks for your attention. Now let's see if I can make it down the stairs. Thank you, friends. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
I want to congratulate this audience. You, by your generosity, put $600 in this hat. That is enough to support one marcher for 1 month. So you did a great job. You, by your $600, are marching with us for the next month. Thank you so much. It's not too late to give. Here, Miriam, you can use the hat. Never too late, never too late. Here's one of us, a man who biked 6,000 miles around the country to promote U.S. climate leadership. He's active in the movement for climate action and clean energy advancement, got his degree in sustainability from Harvard University and the University of Otago in New Zealand as a Fulbright scholar, worked for the U.S. State Department in support of the International Framework on Climate Change. Just before the Kyoto Treaty in 1997, he biked 6,000 miles around the country to promote U.S. climate leadership on his climate ride. And in New Mexico, he helps advance utility-scale wind and solar power, among other direct action initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Hirsch.
Thank you, and I really want to say how much I appreciate you marchers. You bring testament to the phrase I love, which is, when I pray, I move my feet. And if we today pray to restore and sustain the climate that protects us, we need to move our feet, all of us, like these marchers are doing. So you do remind me of the time when I was younger and I got on that bike. I strapped a purple backpack and a leadership petition on this mountain bike I had and cruised around the country visiting universities and communities along the way. And I was really touched by the hospitality of the people along the way, which is really moving. And so it leads me to think that we cannot take hospitality for granted. As people, we have it in our nature, and you see that when you're marching through these communities. But as an essence to our life, the climate is hospitable to us. We wouldn't be here today without a climate that's hospitable, just like our people are hospitable, and we need to not take that for granted. The other thing I learned from that effort that was somewhat like your effort, but I'm so happy to see that there's so many of you. I was just one guy on a bike back in 1997, but I'll say this: putting your heart, putting your soul force, putting your body and your commitment into something like you're doing on this march is so important. It moves people, it inspires people to do the same in their lives, and that's what we need. The more of us putting our heart into this, the more we will inspire a sea change. And so I really want to thank the climate marchers, and I want to just say that we need together to keep moving our feet in every way we can. We should not let go into cynicism on this issue. This is a very powerful, important, moving, stirring, restoring issue, doing something to address climate change in a real-time way. And the more we do, the more empowered we will be, and I'm so grateful for you marchers, and I'm going to be marching too, and I not with you to Washington, but marching in my own life. So keep marching in your own life, keep moving your feet, and thank you so much.
Okay, Rob, we're going to move our feet right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our own orchestra. They're going to play a quick interlude, so come on up here and everybody stand up and move your feet, and don't you dare leave, because the mayor is about to arrive. So here's our Climate Marcher Band.
We're called the Climate Justice Gypsy Band.
Yeah, me.
The song is called We Won't Back Down. It's all about the Keystone Pipeline. We're not going to back down on that issue for sure.
Stand my ground.
good. So we are a very entertaining group as well as being entertained by each other. We're just a lot of fun. So come join us and you'll have a good time too. Guaranteed you'll have a good time. We're not going to do another song right now because we're going to have our New Mexico State Coordinator, Ani Rushelu, come up. She has taken a tremendous burden upon herself. We, of course, came through Arizona. In Arizona, the state coordinator organized one rally. Ani has organized 3 rallies and doing a wonderful job. Got us things like this stage and all sorts of things that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So I'm going to put her up on the stage. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Ani Rushelu.
Thank you all so much for coming. I think it's clear about the conversation that we boldly need to have with everyone that we meet. Ask them to support the important work of the environmental organizations all over the country. Here is what the urgency is about. The CO2 from 10 days of coal plant operation negates the work done by 300,000 trees. And the trees in Oregon, in Washington, and New Mexico are dying now. So we have less planetary cooling available from trees. Here's another reason. Natural gas is not better than coal. Do the politicians hear that? Natural gas is not better than coal because when shale gas is extracted, methane escapes. Biologist Sandra Steingraber says that we have radically altered methane levels to 3 times the normal. What does that do? It acidifies our oceans 30% more than what they should be. The very plankton that produces the oxygen for our every other breath, 50% of the Earth's oxygen, that plankton is being destroyed. You should look up Sandra Steingraber. She has a special message that she will be delivering tonight in a pre-recorded message at our events at Fort Marcy, starting at 6 p.m. and going right up until 9:30. So, but as we see the loss of consensus in oil and gas extraction very slowly, there is hope for moving forward. At Portsmouth Abbey in Rhode Island, Brother Joseph Byron supplies 40% of the electricity for 35 buildings with wind turbines. Yeah. The turbines paid for themselves in 4 years. Yeah. Now the electricity is free. Yeah. The Canadian province of Ontario has decided to decommission all of its coal plants by 2014 and replace them all with renewables, not with gas. The country of Wales is investing in tidal power and has sustainability written into its constitution. P&M lives in a fantasy world. Even the fantasy world of Disney Corporation wants to cut company-wide greenhouse gas emissions in half during the next 4 years, and they have a plan to do so. What is your plan? You can choose to divest from P&M and fossil fuels. And you can ask your friends to do that too. And ask your portfolio manager to give you a green portfolio. Let's support the marchers with our dollars and with big paychecks, because it takes dollars to get them to Washington, D.C. You can go to our website, climatemarch.org, and go to the donation page so you can give more. The marchers really do need your help. Reclaiming the planet means reclaiming our sanity, reclaiming our priorities, and our clear-sightedness. Let's here in Santa Fe build a locally based utility just as Boulder, Colorado is doing. We don't need PNM. And please consider joining the march for a week, for a day, for a summer, or DC. Say yes. Dispense with those excuses. Say yes to joining the march. And feel alive again. Thank you.
I just want to ask, you're aware that New Mexico has 3 tremendous power sources? Solar, wind, and Ani. She has been incredible. We would not be where we're at without her. She's worked 12 to 14-hour days for the last 3 months, and we really owe a world of thanks to her.
Another fun function about being the mayor pro tem is that when the boss is in the house, I get to do an introduction. So let me say that many of you probably know that here in Santa Fe we recently had an election and a new mayor is in town, Mayor Javier Gonzalez. He has formerly served on the Santa Fe County Commission for several terms. He is a former head of the National Association of Counties. He is a former director and leader of the New Mexico Democratic Party, and we have finally brought him home to pick up in the footsteps of his father, a former mayor of Santa Fe. So let me introduce the man who is bringing change to Santa Fe and the type of positive change that we are all gathered here today to support, Mayor Javier Gonzalez.
Hello everybody, how are you today? Are you ready to fight for our climate? On behalf of all the Santa Feans, welcome to our incredible city. For over 400 years, this has been a city that has understood the delicacy of our environment, the importance of being able to grow in a way that builds resilience, to assure that we don't affect some of those things that are so important to us, our air, our water, our earth. And every day we're challenged to bring about policies to make sure that we honor not only our past, but we're able to protect our community for future generations. Yes. Your march across these 3,000 miles, I believe it is, you're in a mile 1,000, is that right? Almost. A little bit around there? Your march is bringing voices and bringing recognition to the rest of this country how important it is that we fight for our climate and that we recognize that climate change is real and that it's upon us. And right here in Santa Fe, we see it year over year with the wildland fires that take place right up here in our beautiful Sangre de Cristo Mountains. We see it with rising temperatures that are occurring year over year. And the fact that our water resources are constantly under threat. When I was a kid, I remember my grandfather saying, "La agua es la vida," water is our life. And he wasn't talking about it just from the standpoint of just consuming it and drinking it, because it's a part of who we are. It's a part of our community. And so just because it's there doesn't mean that you build a demand for it. You protect it and you assure that it lives. And so I want to thank all of you for choosing Santa Fe to be a part of this incredible march. I want to thank Ani, who is just an incredible leader. You heard from Craig Barnes earlier. I thought I saw Craig around here. These are individuals that are constantly around me, being those voices, being the advocates, making sure that there is a mayor of Santa Fe that recognizes before we make any type of decision, we have to understand the consequences to our environment and making sure that we don't ever make that second, but we keep it first. Thank you very much for being here in Santa Fe. This is your community. I know you guys have to continue your journey tomorrow, but I want you to come back and spend time in our town. I want you to enjoy it. You're always welcome here. Go by and see myself and our great pro tem, Peter Ives, and then continue to offer your ideas. You don't have to be in Santa Fe to have your voices heard. That's a beautiful thing about social media and emails. If you have ideas out there that are working, lend us your thoughts, your ideas, send them directly to us. We're listening and we're reading. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Tall mayor. I was 6'2" when we started the march, and I had brown hair. We have several more speakers, 3 more to be exact, and they're all women. So you women stay, and if any men leave, grab them, bring them back, because it's time for us to introduce the first of the 3. This is Karen Parmandam. She's the marketing director and employee owner of Positive Energy Solar, and she's going to be speaking both for Positive Energy Solar and both as a member of the Santa Fe Green Chamber of Commerce Board. So here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Karen Parmandam.
I'm not really sure how much I could say more than what everybody has already said, except for the fact that, I believe that part of the solution isn't just all the individuals out here, but it's people who are not the converted. We really need to convert some more, right? Hear an amen for that one, a loud one. I grew up overseas. I grew up in the Middle East. And many of you know, the Middle East is where a lot of conflict has occurred. And when I moved to New Mexico, I never dreamed in a million years, even though I haven't been alive for a million years, that I would be part of this global solution. Not just as a woman, I am proud to be part of the solution with solar, as within our company, but also as a mother. I see many children out here in the audience. How many of you are parents and grandparents? Our children are our future, right? And I see my daughter every day, and every day I feel grateful that I'm able to go to work for a company that actually cares about the future of this planet and cares about the future of our children. As a business person, I really want to encourage all you business owners out there. And, you can see this happening right down here at the Railyard already. Tomasitas just put solar in their parking lot. You go talk to George Gundry, and you talk to him about why he did it. And he'll tell you why. He'll tell you, it was about a future. My business needed to be sustainable, and therefore he decided to put solar on his property. Every business owner out here needs to hear that message. It is not expensive. What we are doing right now is expensive.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm humbled again. Thank you so much for having me talk. I wish I could march with you. I have more than a full-time job at the moment, but maybe I'll meet you in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
We're going to turn that maybe into a certainly. She spoke about children, and one of our marchers wanted to bring up an example of a child, in case you don't know what one looks like.
I'm Kat Haber. I'm from Homer, Alaska. I see climate change happening every day from my window. I see glaciers melting. I see coastal native Alaskan villages being eroded and falling into the ocean. The reason I'm marching, 2 reasons. One is for nature, right relationship with nature. And the other is I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I'm a godmother. And this is my godson, Bruno Sire. He rocks my world, and he lives right here in Santa Fe, and he's marching with us today. So this is why we march.
There's a whole demographic missing from our march. That's kids and their parents. So if you have a family that wants to march with us, we'd love to have you come along. This is kind of a makeup for somebody I introduced previously, and so I won't reread the introduction, but I will say that Bianca is representing Mario Nanazi, and it's from the New Energy Economy. So, Marielle. And another child.
Hey everyone, so yeah, my name is Bianca Saposi Belknap.
and I work for New Energy Economy. And I'm from Santa Fe. I grew up here, and I went away to college, and I came back, and I was doing a lot of work training young people in our community to do social and environmental activism. And I still do that work, but this year I've really shifted my focus to working on climate change. Like all of you, I know that it is the defining challenge of our time. I also have a little son, as you can see, who's 2 years old, who is in my heart every day that I, want to fight for a future for him. And so in doing activist work, I think one of the really important things is that we know what we're fighting against as well as what we're fighting for. Yes. So it helps me to understand what our challenges are so we can be strategic about building those solutions. And here in New Mexico, just as is true around the world, one of our primary challenges is coal. So as you know, coal is the #1 contributor to climate change. And here in New Mexico, 60% of our energy comes from coal. So every time that we turn on the lights or boot up our computer, we're pulling energy from the San Juan coal plant in the Four Corners region. There are communities there that are living in the shadow of the plant that have huge levels of asthma and cancer. These are native communities, so it's a huge issue of environmental justice. There's a lot of environmental racism here in the state of New Mexico. So these are things that I think it's important for us to consider. And I think in the face of these challenges, it's easy to get kind of depressed. But there's a quote that I like to tell myself, which is the antidote to depression is action. So here in New Mexico, we have these amazing opportunities for action right now. And I want to tell you quickly about an opportunity to shift our energy portfolio in New Mexico in a way that is radical and could basically shift us to a majority renewables in the next 50 years. And this is what's happening. So the San Juan coal plant is one of the major emitters of pollution in this area in the southwest. It's one of the dirtiest coal plants in the country. And so with a lot of pressure from environmental groups, many of whom are represented here, and New Energy Economy, my organization, the EPA started looking into PNM's violations at San Juan, and they had so many air quality violations that they've ended up paying for 60,000 of those air quality violations. So imagine how many more there must have been. But so EPA said, you guys are impacting air quality and air visibility in the southwest region. And so they said, you got to do something about that coal plant. So through pressure from environmental groups, instead of putting on very expensive pollution controls on that coal plant that would basically assure its life into the future, right? Because if we invest money in infrastructure, then we're kind of tied to using that infrastructure. The environmental groups said, just close the damn thing down. Okay? We don't want it in our state anymore. So as a result of that organizing work, the EPA ruled and got the state of New Mexico and PNM to agree to close 2 units of San Juan coal plant. It's a huge victory, but only if we make sure that what that energy is replaced with is renewable energy. So right now, what PNM is proposing is to replace that power with more coal and more nuclear that they want to import from their Palo Verde plant in Arizona. It is absurd. And the reason why they want to do that is because there's more profits for them. And also because they have made poor investments historically, and they put all their money and all their betting on the fact that coal is just going to go on indefinitely. And we know that that's not true. And so we need to tell them that we will not accept any more investment in coal, and that they need to replace that power with solar and wind. In our state, we are the second greatest solar capacity state in the country, and we only have 2% solar, people. So this is unacceptable, and this is a huge opportunity. This summer, this question of replacement power will be determined in front of the Public Regulatory Commission. And so in August, New Energy Economy and several other groups, including the courageous city of Santa Fe that has intervened in this case as well as Santa Fe County, will be battling PNM to say, you better replace that coal with solar and wind. So I invite you all to get involved in that. The other thing we're pushing strong that you might mention to your mayor before he leaves is that we want a muni. We want a municipal utility here in Santa Fe. We want to divest from coal and nuclear and natural gas, and we can do that by seizing the control of power and taking it back into our own hands. So thank you all, and thank you so much to our marchers that are an inspiration and are fighting for our kids' future.
The mayor's right over there. We want a muni. We want a muni. We want a muni. Thank you. We want to introduce you to one of our most wonderful marchers, and she's a New Mexican. And she's going to come up and speak briefly about her experience on the march and why she's marching. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Silver City, New Mexico, the belle of the march, Deb James.
More like the grandmother of the march, one of the